Hello folks, welcome to another episode of Yogi Dave's Hobby Podcast, the podcast where I talk about everything in the tabletop RPG, tabletop board game, tabletop war game, tabletop skirmish game, all those hobbies, singular, but in my case, as a whole, one hobby, and everything that they encompass. So today I'm going to be talking to Paul Cooke. So Paul is the man behind Pandemonium Miniatures. So if they've got a Facebook page, he's got his Instagram, he's got an Etsy shop, Twitter handle, which is PandaemoniumMinis, and he's working on a YouTube channel at the moment as well, I think he was saying. So I didn't realise that I already followed him on Twitter when I started. Actually, I follow him on Instagram as well. I follow him on Twitter and Instagram and stuff. So, paints minis, obviously, and you know. It was really good about coming on the podcast because when I was recording with Dan, I had two other people that I was meant to be talking to who cancelled on me. They know who they are. I'm not going to put their names out there. But, you know, I was kind of stuck because I've got the place that I'm doing this. It's my sister-in-law's place. Obviously, I need, you know, decent internet to do Skype calls. And my internet's shite, as you all know. But Paul stepped into the breach he's like, I'll do it. Other people were like, yeah, I'll maybe do it later, or I'll do it another time, that's fine. But, you know, Paul hand up right away, pretty much, I'll do it. Which was pretty cool of him to do. Didn't need to give up his time. Other people, you know, I actually posted on Paint All the Minis Facebook page, and I get taken off quite quickly, I think. Enough time for Paul to really, yeah, I'll do it, but others were humming and hawing about it, and obviously I didn't get them. But I got 2 interviews out of the day, which is good. Gave me enough time in between to do a bit of admin, record a bit for other shows, for other episodes, and do a little bit of prepping and stuff. Also, you know, I also got to actually release a bloody YouTube episode for this week, which I keep on not forgetting to do, but not having time to do, because obviously I was away last weekend, or part of the weekend. Let's not talk about that. And I kept on forgetting to update the YouTube episode descriptions, so I couldn't add an episode, which is kind of annoying. But that's me rambling on again. So after the discussion, I'll come back and I'll talk to you a little bit. Alright, cool. See you in a bit. Right, how doing, folks? So I've got Paul Cooke from Pandemonium. I can't even say it right. Pandemonium Miniatures. Yeah. My brain's a wee bit short at times, but with actually being able to get my tongue around some words, but that'll be alright, I hope. So just introduce what you do yourself, because it's best coming from you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a painter and a model maker and a woodworker, and I operate under the name Pandemonium Miniatures.
Yep.
So I've got Instagram, Facebook and Twitter accounts under those names, and the main thing I do through that is commission painting.
Yep.
And that's armies, squads, single models, scratch built terrain also. But then on the hobby side, for my own stuff, I'm mainly concentrating on Frostgrave and on Dark Light Momentum Alright. dungeon crawl board game.
Cool. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to start with questions. So how long have you been in the hobby?
On and off. Well, I'm 42 now. So we're looking at 30 years, which is frightening. Because I mean, like a lot of people my sort of age, it was Hero Quest and Space Crusade that really kicked things off.
Yeah.
So he saw the adverts on TV, he saw the broadsword and the Fire of Wrath and all that, and thought, yeah, got to have that. Loved it, played it to death, painted the miniatures in an embarrassingly bad manner, but I really enjoyed doing it. But then what really got me into, because I appreciated that it was co-done through Games Workshop, I didn't really know what that was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
What really got me into that was a friend of mine who was at school with me decided, probably when he was 13, 14, that he didn't want to do it anymore, and gave me all of his Citadel stuff.
That's pretty cool.
So an entire Wood Elf army and a massive pile of White Dwarfs.
Right.
Like from issue 117 up to 154 or something. So, like, if you can picture it, there was me on the sofa with a pile of magazines next to me on the sofa, like an in tray, devouring the magazines and then putting them on the other side. Yeah. Just absolutely enthralled by it all, and not just the miniatures, but also the tutorials they used to have for the scenery building, which they don't do it anymore because they've got their own range and they're more interested in you buying that than you making your own thing. But I still now the scratch built terrain I make is very much influenced by that stuff in the 90s.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll admit I've been in it 30 years as well, and I'm a couple of years younger. I just turned 36. I got me into it playing Blood Bowl. See the second edition with the Paul Cooke pitch. He did it pretty much when it came out, but he'd been like a wargamer before, and he thought, well, this is a good way to get them into it. That bloody for a 5-year-old. But this is my first year in the hobby. That's kind of scary when you think about it.
I mean, I've had breaks, so I didn't do anything for a long time. And I was a 40k player up until probably about 12 years ago. Yeah. Maybe 10. But and I hadn't done anything for ages. Then I got Zombicide, painted at that set. Yeah. Probably about 6 years or so ago. But I've really got back into it since last Easter. In a big way, and just only decided to do the commission work and stuff in October, but that's really taken off.
Yeah, that's cool. Excuse me, my dog's been a pain in the butt. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I've been doing it pretty much from the get go, so it's interesting to hear how long people have been doing it, and if they've had breaks or it's just been constant. You tend to find somebody who starts it like when they're early teenage years, they have a period of playing it, and then they go off it and have kids and stuff, and then they come back to it.
Yeah, that seems to be very, very prevalent. I mean, my friend Tom's a good example of that. And actually, it turned out it was my fault entirely. But he came around to mine and had a game of Space Hulk a few years ago, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I used to play 40k when I was about 14," and we were, played the game. We had good fun, and then I was at his birthday party, and it's like, "Oh wow, you got back into it?" Yeah. Well, I played that game of Space Hulk with you, and I remembered how much fun it was. And he's got the most massive Space Marine army now, and Imperial Guard, and he's properly back into it. So.
You tend to find that though when they've come back into it in a big way. They spend loads of money on it, but what you also tend to find is the people that went away for a while are the ones that will stay in it until they're no longer here. But you do. Very few and far between are people like me that started it when they were really young and have just continued through it, no matter what. I've had I think 6 months off in the 30 odd years that I've been playing it. So that's it's weird to think that. So HeroQuest and all that kind of stuff is what brought you into the hobby.
Yeah, in the first instance, yeah.
What did you love about it so much?
Well, I enjoyed the DIY aspect of it. So, as well as obviously you had the quest books, but I had so much fun with. It was pretty much like me and my brother would be making up our own quests. Redrawing the dungeon grid on graph paper and inventing new scenarios and new little trigger points in each room that would set off whatever event. We actually brought it to a more advanced level than it was written, I think. But yeah, I think it's the fact that things like that can be such a sandbox. You can play it as is, but I think half of it is what you bring to it as well. And I think that's why I like things like Frostgrave at the moment. It's got the ethos that things like 40k used to, where it was very much at the beginning of the rule book, it would say, please treat these rules as a starting point, and go with it, do whatever you want with it. And that's very much what Joseph has done with Frostgrave. It's very much, this is a starting point, but if you feel like you want to do this, and this, then go for it. Tell me about it. I might add it in. Yeah.
That's pretty cool though. I remember back in the day, I actually talked about that with Dan Adam about this earlier on. Because I was asking him what he would really like to, if there was a game he would really love to go back and play, or play the now. He said Rogue Trader. And that's a big thing for a lot of people. You find that never experienced Rogue Trader back in the beginning, back when it was out.
Yeah, but my memory of it was it was a very confused and confusing kind of a rule book, and it allowed you to do all sorts of crazy illogical things. Like if you've got a level 4 psyker, there was no reason on earth why that psychic could not telekinetically turn a Land Raider on its back.
Yeah. No, I know.
And then that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of described it to him as a little bit of a skirmish game with a bit of RPG in it. To be honest, it kind of felt like
because in its first iteration, it did require a GM as well, didn't it? Yeah.
So it was kind of like, well, it's what Warhammer and Warhammer RPG would have been if they had been together rather than separate. That's how I kind of looked at it. I mean, I found my Rogue Trader set of rules, which is dog-eared and a complete and utter mess, but I would still never part with it for love nor money. I found it the other day when I was tidying up at my mum and dad's, tidying up all my stuff out. Finally, after a year, getting everything out there and out their house for a year this time. But I mean that's it. You go back and look at them and you go, yeah, it was good, but it was good when I played it.
Yeah, it is amazing. The nostalgia seems to trump the reality of a lot of these things. I mean, there's a massive HeroQuest fan site. There's a big Facebook fan group. Yeah. And you can pay over the odds for a pristine game of HeroQuest, but I do ask myself, is it actually as good as I remember it?
Yeah. I haven't played it in a while. I've got 2 copies of it. That and Advanced HeroQuest, which are my dad's, and he's keeping them. He's like, you won't need them that often, and I'll keep them, because he has huge nostalgia, because obviously that and Blood Bowl and Space Crusade was how he introduced me and my brothers to the hobby. So, it's I think it's more a nostalgia thing for him than anything else. But yeah, I mean, I'd probably go back and play it at some point, but it's been
I'm intrigued, I must say. What's stopping me is that I can't stand the site. I mean, I know exactly where it is. It's over at my parents', and it's not that long ago I had a look at the models, and they're god awful, to be honest. So, and to the point where it's not even worth me stripping them and repainting them because some of them are so broken. Yeah. So I don't know. I'll probably do do some kind of thing where I use proxy models or whatever to try it out again.
Well, I've seen that. There was somebody put up a Chaos Sorcerer that was
from that was me.
Was it you? Alright, was it you? I can never remember who it is that I see these things.
So there's a company, it's a guy called James, isn't it? He calls himself Brass Monkey Miniatures, and he sculpts and casts his own.
Yeah.
And so this one was actually a complete resculpt of the original Chaos Sorcerer, and actually improvement. It's better. The proportions are better. The level of sculpting is better. So I bought that from him, and then I did a little side by side compare contrast of it with my original paint job when I was about 12, which was really quite amusing.
Yeah. No, that's why I strip and repaint everything all the time. I look at it and I go, nope, it's getting stripped. Paint job looks crap. I've got Space Wolf Army. My Space Wolf Army is massive.
Yeah,
combined
that's one of the more harder ones to paint. Actually, I think.
Yeah.
Certainly with the old paint set.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it's any easier with the new base colours, but
no. It's I'd still paint the same way as I always paint. This is the thing I've developed over the years, that I use a little bit of the layer system from Games Workshop and the highlighting, and I still use dry brush. Sometimes I'll still, rather than dry brush, shade and highlight, I'll actually paint. It depends on the model entirely, what you're looking at, what I'll do with it. But I will periodically strip and repaint that. It depends on what mood I'm in at the time. I'm thinking of actually doing kind of in between the pre-heresy and the 40k paint scheme. That one's a big project that still needs to get looked at. So what's the next question? So what I've already asked this. It's what gamer figure popped your hobby cherry, but you've already answered that. How often do you paint, play, or study the hobby?
Painting, it's pretty much every day.
Yeah.
If it's commission stuff, I tend to not do that on weekends.
Yeah.
I'll tend to use that for my own things. But painting every day. I'm playing Frostgrave on the regular now. Usually once a month. There's a group who meet up first Friday of every month, and that's been really, really good. I mean, where I live, Bristol, is very well served for independent game shops and clubs. So there's one literally 10 minutes walk away from me. I've just been up there this morning to buy a few paints, and they're really good. They do a 10% discount on Games Workshop stuff as well, so that's quite good. And then the one I meet up for games at is called Big, Bristol Independent Games, and it's essentially a warehouse. It's 2 stories, and they've got a massive facility with fully decked boards, and you can book tables. It's like $4.50 for a session. You can stay as long as you like for that. It's very, very good.
Yeah. That's one of the things about Scotland that we kind of don't really have, is a huge selection of hobby shops or kind of like gaming places either. I mean, there's obviously all the clubs that we've got, but it's an unfortunate thing, because I do know lots of people in the hobby that don't get a lot of time playing because they can't get to X club or Y club because of timing or whatever. And there's only
because the thing is, it does require a lot of room. I've got quite a little flat here. So what I've done for painting, I had to build myself my own paint station. I got a piece of 3K mahogany, made a paint station with a lid, with a box with all my paints in, so I can have that on the table and then pack it all away again when I'm not using it. And then as for actually tabletop gaming, I doubt I can do anything more than a 3x3 table, like for a skirmish. So to have a facility like Big, where you can just rock up with your models, and they've got the table set up for you. It's incredible.
Yeah, because the closest one we've got is Calling Ground Games, which is in Stirling, and I live kind of between Glasgow and Stirling, so it's kind of an in-between place. So, it's 20 miles either way, probably, and it's probably an hour or two on a bus, depending on where you're connecting from. So it's just it's not worth it when you don't have your own transport. But yeah, I mean,
so that's the first grade, and then also I've got a regular a board games meetup.
Yeah.
So I'll usually take over. My favourite one at the moment is Darklight Memento Mori, which is a dungeon crawler that was kickstarted last year, and they actually sell it through their own store, and that's really, really good. It's people are finding that it's tricky now because a lot of the expansion packs are completely sold out. So some people are holding off in the hope that they'll restock. The irony being that they can't restock until they sold their current stock because they're a very small company. And but that's really good. I've been playing sort of one shots of that, but actually at the end of this month I've got a group together now to start the campaign off, which I'm quite excited about. Cool. So I've been trying to finish off painting the model set in time for that. So I'm like 3 models away from having a completely painted set now, I think it is. That's excluding the ones I'm in the middle of, so probably 7 models away.
That's pretty cool. My biggest problem is actually finishing anything off. It always has been. It's like, right, I need to finish this, but I've got this. It's why I was trying to. Well, I say my missus put me on the ban, but I kind of put myself on the ban as well from buying stuff. So I wasn't getting any new stuff to paint. But then,
it's hard to maintain that. I mean, I was like, oh no, I'm not buying any more this month. And then it was like, ooh, look at this nice stuff that Bear's Head's doing. Yeah. Look at this nice stuff that Bad Swidow's doing. Ooh, click, click. Oh. And it's lovely because I love supporting those guys. They're brilliant. But at the same time, it's like I do need to get a grip on this a little bit.
My birthday coming around was the worst timing. I was like, I know I need more Orlocks because I've got like a gang of the originals. See, like I've got quite a bit. Goliath and Orlock from the originals, but they don't look right when they're next to newer ones.
Oh, the scale now, it must look so strange. Yeah.
I need to get new Orlocks. So I got 2. My younger brother got me a box of Orlocks, and then with my birthday money I got more Orlocks and Vansars, but at the same time as like I'm starting to play Infinity, and I'm like, I'm an army for that. Okay, just everyone buy me stuff, and then I'm not allowed to buy any more stuff for myself, except the Conquest subscription, which for the podcast and the YouTube channel, I'm going to do a raffle at the end and raffle off the entire Space Marine army because I don't have, and it's going to be painted as well. I'm painting it Storm Wardens. See the Scottish. Going to paint the Scottish chapter, aren't you? So I'm painting that for a raffle. So that's fine. But the Nurgle army, the Plague Marines and everything, I'm keeping for myself. But it's not getting painted until 2 or 3 years down the line because I've got projects that are like, this needs to get done for then.
I'm a terrible one for having. I will have, even if I'm in the throes of a fairly big commission, I'll still have a side project on the go as well. And I'll be doing that while all the shade washings are drying.
Yeah, I mean, I found, and I've been painting for a long time, and I found, see the wet palette, if you get like an actual wet palette rather than one you make yourself, see if you paint the paint onto a figure, it's dry within that, so it's like for batch painting, that's awesome. And I'm like, ooh, but you can only batch paint so much. Even when you're doing commissions, I can only do so much. It's like I get bored of that. I can't keep on doing that. can't remember who I was talking about. When I first got onto Twitter, I started, Leaky Cheese and all this, those guys.
Yeah.
I started talking to them, and I think it was Nikki. I was talking to her, and she was talking about Tau, and I was like, I fucking hate Tau. I hate painting Tau. I have blanket refused to paint any more Tau for anyone because it bores the crap out of me. I can't get my head around it anymore.
Unless people have got specifics, it's always just going to be two main colours, isn't it? Nothing spectacular, and it's very flat. So they don't interest me as models.
No,
they never did. Right?
No, that was the thing. I always looked at them and I'm like, I already play BattleTech.
Yeah.
I don't need any more figures that look like mates.
Yes. Well, I did spend a while with my friend Luke. Years ago when we were still playing, but he had the Tau army.
Yeah.
But he was a powerhouse player, so essentially he got armies. He got armies that he knew he could beat the crap out of me with. with not much tactical consideration.
No.
So it's like, I'm going to sit back here with my long range Tau rifles while you advance, and that's all I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Well, I might throw some Kroot at you as well, but that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I would paint a Kroot army. I have no issue painting Kroot because they can be quite fun to paint, but because different ways you can paint different versions of the Kroot. Whatever the client wants, But I'm not a big Powerhouse fan myself. I don't understand the just sitting there and not doing anything.
No, and I've never been a competitive player.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the narrative, and some of the best games I've had have been where we prepared like a sequence of games that have been almost round robin style between three players.
Yeah.
And we've between us built the terrain specifically for those. So like there was one where I built like a whole row of fortifications because with the bunker siege type scenario, and got such more of a kick out of that than win at all costs. Look how many points I've got. It's like I don't mind about that. I don't mind losing particularly. I just enjoy the storytelling aspect of it. Yeah.
No, I've never been really a competitive player, but I've never understood the competitive mindset. I mean, I do play BattleTech and Malifaux competitions, but that's because they're fun. That's it. It's always going to be fun. It's never going to... I mean, there's going to be players that are there specifically to win and all this, that kind of stuff, but for the most part it's just about having fun, and that's why I like them. But yeah, I mean, I can understand the narrative side of it as well. I mean, my Space Wolves, even though I've got loads of Terminators and I've got loads of Long Fangs and Grey Hunters, for the most part I just play Blood Claws and Sky Claws and Swift Claws because it's a close combat army. I like close combat armies.
Yes. That's the thing, isn't it? It's like people can do that. They'll do the power play at the expense of what is thematically appropriate for that army.
Well, I mean, that's a Ragnar Blackman. That's a Blackman company kind of army, and invariably I play with Ragnar as my general. So it's like it works, and it's fun to play. Even if I get beat, it's fun to play. I mean, that's the thing. I don't mind getting beat if I'm having fun, but I know players that if they get beat, it'll ruin the game for them for a month or two, and it's like it's meant to be fun. That's it at the end of the day, and it's meant to be fun. But yeah. So you've been making terrain since basically you started playing, I take it?
Yeah, essentially. And actually I tried to, even to the extent where I wangled my school CBT project into, I did two projects which were basically terrain for myself. And it's like, alright, so I'm making a set of buildings. The theme is lighting, theme of the project is lighting. I'm making a set of buildings that have LED lighting.
That's good.
So that's what I did. I made these foam core buildings and built up circuits, and my teacher liked it, so I like that. And then another one, I made a big castle tower.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, the castle tower involved these little Citadel arcane architecture gargoyles, which I've recycled. I still have them, so I stripped them down, recycled them, and they're now on my Frostgrave mausoleum.
Alright, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I played Frostgrave. We did a campaign at one of the clubs I'm a member of last year, year before last, and it was fun. But there was players getting very much more powerful than everyone else. But I think that was just a sense of scaling. It was just because there were so many players in the campaign that it was just like, well... That's
it. If you're all at different stages, I mean, I played against level 25 wizards when I've only been level 4.
Yeah.
Actually, for the scenario, it didn't make a lot of odds because it depends on the players, but more often than not, I'm finding it's less about shooting each other to death and more about grabbing the treasure and getting out of there.
Yeah.
So actually, the fact that he was so much more advanced than me didn't actually make any difference to the game. We still ended up with a draw. So.
Yeah, no, that's the thing though. If the scenario makes it so you don't, it doesn't kind of matter, then that's always helpful. But a lot of them were free for alls, so it was like, oh god, this person's going to die very quickly. There was one guy, my mate Barry. I think he had to rebuild a warband about 6 times through the whole campaign, and I was like, "Whoa!" It's like, how are you having fun? He's like, I don't mind. But
my apprentice died last game. That wasn't fun. Was it?
No, that's never fun. Excuse me. Right, so I'm just talking about terrain because I only just started doing it when we moved into a new house. I was like, right, I need to start building my own terrain because I just used to use whatever was at the club and whatever was at my dad's. So, but I'm really liking it. They've never really built any terrain. I tried doing it for Mordtime when Mordtime first came out, which I'm quite interested to see whether or not they redo that. Like they redid Necromunda and Blood Bowl and stuff, but
well, there's certainly demand for it.
Yeah, there always is
still
demand
very
for
it.
Yeah, but that didn't turn out very well. My dad did foam board buildings, which were much better than my card and balsa wood and whatever. But when I moved in, I started doing it all myself, and I'm really enjoying it. It's like making trees. They see with the sea foam and the foam flock from Luke's APS. Having that, Luke's channel was just like inspiration. Went from like maybe a 1 or a 2 to a 20 in very quick succession because I'd been doing like the kind of stuff that you remember from the original Necromunda when it came out, like the can towers and stuff like that.
Yeah, well actually, funnily enough, my friend Saul just sent me a load of the bulkheads that he wasn't going to use anymore. I said, "You're going to use these?" I said, "Well, I'll probably find a use for them."
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've got again 2 boxes worth of Necromunda bulkheads, and the terrain is screwed from years of pulling it apart and putting it back together. So I need to find uses for that. But it's more like your hills and outcrops and all the rest, that kind of stuff for and trees and stuff, and boards, which I never thought I'd see myself making. But yeah, I'm enjoying that myself.
Cool.
Next question. So, talking about Frostgrave, your current rule set of choice. Why is that?
Well, I wanted a game that would be small scale, and to keep the hobby a bit more manageable.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go into 40k again.
I understand that.
Because I just don't have the time and the space for that scale of a game. Frostgrave, the nice thing is it's as big as you want it to be.
Yeah.
You know, so I've got my warband. I'm going to do a second one so I can use it for introductory games as well. And then I'm gradually building up the beastery of random encounter type models.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
So yeah, I like that, and I like the setting as well. That frozen wasteland sort of setting is great. I first heard about it only last year when I was up in Manchester playing some games. Had my introduction to Gaslands then as well.
Right.
It's another one I'm quite like, because that's very cheap indeed to get into.
Caught your card on a couple of bits.
Yeah. So yeah, a couple of people introduced me to it then. I thought, okay, go on then. And the fact that it's I suppose you could call it agnostic in terms of you don't need a particular brand of miniatures. Yeah. You can use what you like. Mm-hmm. Makes it so much more accessible. So if you're already into the hobby, you've probably got everything you need to get going anyway.
Yeah. I get that's another thing. Me and Dan were talking, because we were talking about Frostgrave, and he was saying, you know, if you've got the figures, you don't need to buy anything else. And I think I've got the figures about 50, 60, 70 times over that you need for it. So
I mean, that said, I did go a bit mental when I decided I was going to get into it properly at Christmas. So New Year, I did buy 4 of the official North Star box sets, kind of off the bat. And then I ended up giving some of those sprues to friends and things, But they're really good. I mean, I think, £20 for 20 models. Yeah. It's very good. Yeah. And those Warlords skeletons, I thought were very good as well. That's like 24 for £18. It's madness.
Well, that's the thing. I tend to find a lot of people who started out in like 40k and stuff like that, and they start doing historical stuff, and they look at the price difference between historicals and Warhammer and stuff like that. It's like, well, how is this not the same price as that? Yes. But you still have to explain to them, well, Games Workshop have shops, they have staff. A lot of these companies are
that's it. Their overheads, must be quite mad, and then they've got all of the licensing that goes out to all the various other computer games and board games and what have you. And so and it's fun. I mean, I don't. You get people who kind of bash them as a company, which I don't know. I think that's too much. If they are what they are, they become what they are due to the popularity of the hobby. And arguably, if they didn't exist, there wouldn't really be a hobby as we know it. Well, they started off by popularising it in its general term, be it D&D, be it war games, whatever system, and now they've got their own. They do their own thing and they do it very well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you only have to look at Warlord, Perry. All these other companies, Mantic, all these companies that are based around Nottingham are basically run by
You look at all of the names involved, and they're all former Games Workshop. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so, Tim Plough is involved in sculpting tons of stuff, and it's lovely to see actually that's propagated and has resulted in sort of enriching the whole thing.
Yeah, sometimes I bitch about the prices, but I don't bash the company anymore. I did. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was periods in time where I did bash the company and like, they're going to price themselves out the market, which I still hear, and I'm like, if they haven't priced themselves out the market now, they're never pricing themselves out the market.
Yeah, I mean, I remember where they used to do sales.
Yeah.
Sales in a Games Workshop.
Oh yes, I remember them all. That's how I got my second version in Necromunda. And Battlefleet Gothic and a whole the other stuff was when they did it. I think it was they were moving from Queen Street up to, this is the Glasgow store, to the next store. They did the sale, or it might have been the previous move. Actually, they moved about 4 times. Now that I think of it, but can't remember what the sale was for, but it was nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think also what's improved, and you know, a lot of it, you know, they've obviously had a good look at themselves and how they're perceived and how people see, and a lot of things have improved. And one of them is just on the ground level. Is how the staff are in the shop. And I don't have much recourse to go in these days because, like I say, I've got shops quite local to me. But when I go into town, you don't get them jumping on you as soon as you walk in the door and going, "Hello, how are you? What are you doing? What are you painting? What are you playing?" You know, I just come in for a pot of paint. Leave me alone. You know, it's not like that anymore. And I mean, I had a brief foray where I worked in the shop. I was an employee for a little while, and you were trained to be almost the aggressive salesperson. With no thought as to, but doesn't that put what most people off, really? Well, I don't think they do that anymore.
No, I've had friends that have worked for Games Workshop, and they say that they're like, well, we've got a set target of this to sell or that to sell, and we're taught to push that rather than ask customers what they're looking for, rather than, you know. I mean, they've still got the push, but I don't think it's supposed to be as aggressive as it used to be. I don't think.
I certainly don't get the upselling and the hard sell as it used to be.
I mean, I've worked in retail, so I know what it's like. But it's like, my brain's just. So, favourite army you ever had?
Favourite army I don't. Well, my first army was Blood Angels. So they're, for nostalgia's sake, they're probably favourite. And then, but when I actually created my own Space Marine chapter and put a bit more of a backstory into them, I really enjoyed those. They were called the Rift Guardians, and colour scheme was kind of like the Deathwing, so pale bone colour armour, black shoulder pads, white helmets. And they looked pretty decent from a distance, so it was very much tabletop standard paint scheme. And I ended up amassing about probably 3,000 to 4,000 points worth, which is still in storage. I've got to work out what the hell I'm going to do with them. Part of me is like, no, keep them nostalgia. You know, look at them every couple of, every 6 months or whatever. And the other part of me is like, yeah, but they're just taking up space. I can sell it quite happily. Well, I don't know.
That's the thing though. I've sold bits and pieces, and every time I've sold it, it's like something that I know I'm never going to be nostalgic about it, so I can get rid of it.
That's the problem. It becomes a wrench when you put a lot of effort into, converting, painting, building up a backstory for it. It's your baby. It's a creative endeavour, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's like everything in the hobby. You invest what you get out what you invest in it, And when you do something all on your own, it's a big thing. So, no, you've done wargaming and skirmish gaming and board gaming. Have you ever been involved in tabletop RPGs?
Only a little bit. So I played again up in Manchester. A friend of mine he plays various different systems, so it's quite nice. I get little introductions to little things. Yeah. And he plays through with the Savage Worlds system.
Cool. Yeah.
And he concocted a really cool little adventure. Yeah. And it was myself and his partner were playing, and it was this sort of Victorian steampunk kind of setting. Yeah. Very Cthulhu. Because you can't really avoid that.
No.
But it was very much just we were investigating what turned out to be a demonic cult.
Yeah.
We were trying to summon something in the basement, and it was such a lot of fun. And I liked the fact that this one rule set was so adaptable to whatever setting you wanted. It's very clever. So yeah, I think I'd like to do a bit more of that. I don't know about D&D.
Yeah.
I think that require a fair amount of homework in terms of getting into the lore and things. It's not something I'm that familiar with.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been painting a lot of D&D character models for people, so I get a bit of a feel for what a tiefling is and what a
dragon,
whatever. But I mean, I did have the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay book, the original edition, and I did create myself characters, but the problem was that there wasn't anybody else who I knew who wanted it. The only reason I had it was because my dad was a bookbinder, and he happened to produce that at his workplace and had a spare copy, because sort of imperfect copies they were allowed to take home. And I was like, ooh. So I generated a character, or probably about 3 or 4 characters. But you've reminded me of something actually, because I wonder now I've said it's Hero Quest. I wonder whether the first gateway into that wasn't actually the Fighting Fantasy game books, because there's certainly some parallel. No. I would have got into one, or I would have probably got into the board game, the game books just a little bit before Hero Quest, thinking of it.
Well, I remember them well. I used to get Steve Jackson from Steve Jackson Games and Steve Jackson.
Oh, everybody did. Yeah.
And then I'm like,
yeah.
No, I can't get them because I watched Tabletops. He did the Bob Eaton web show where he did the tabletop games. Watched that, and they had Steve Jackson from Steve Jackson Games on one of the first shows, and you're like, I'm never mistaking the two of them ever again.
And it's funny, isn't it, as well, because the American Steve Jackson is at least as influential on the role play and the role play genre.
As
Steve Jackson. As our Steve Jackson.
Well, that's it, isn't it? There's certain people who are very influential in an industry that's quite. I mean, it's niche, but because Gary Gygax from that did Dungeons and Dragons, and then you get Rick Priestley. I think the two of them are kind of parallels of each other in the different sections of the hobby.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, I mean, how many games has Rick Priestley been involved in? It was Warhammer and 40k from the very get-go. He formulated those things in the first place, didn't he? And then he's had a hand in every other system, I think, that they've produced. And he's probably started the careers of how many? Andy Chambers, Jervis Johnson. You name the luminary of Games Workshop or the tabletop industry. He's probably had a hand in every one of their careers at some point. And that's probably the same for Gary Gygax and the RPG. At least in the American side of it. So it's interesting to think about these things, I think. So if you could play a rule set from any point that you haven't played so far, which one would it be?
That's a good
Anytime. Dan's stealing that one off me. He said that to me.
That's a hell of a question. I'm intrigued to play Saga, actually. The Viking one.
I played that. It's good fun.
Yeah, it looks to be good. And actually, the same person who introduced me to Frostgrave, I know that he plays Saga, so I think next time I'm up in Manchester, I might have to persuade him to show me. But again, I think that's one of those things where it can, because for my understanding, you can make it a skirmish game, but you could go all out and have pitched battles if you wanted to as well.
Yeah, you could probably build up, because it's a point. I can't remember the point system now, but your conscripts are a certain point, your next level up are a certain amount of points, and then your elites are a certain amount of points, and then you've got a certain amount of points to build up, so you could have a whole crew of elites or whatever you want to do. Yeah, it's an interesting set of rules. Yeah, that's a good one actually. So try to think of a little. My brain's about to fart. Yeah, so board games wise, the game that you're playing just now, remind me, because I forget.
Yeah, Dark Light Memento Mori.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a dungeon crawler,
mm-hmm.
But they've made it very much their own in terms of the fantasy setting.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a parallel Earth. So there's some parallels to the kind of the religious and political stuff of the Middle Ages.
Mm-hmm.
But you play one of 4 characters called the Accursed, and you're tied to the Cursed Heart. That's
mm-hmm.
kind of you're obliged to carry out these missions, not through any goodness of your own part, because actually some of the characters are actually quite dodgy, but you're kind of compelled to go on these quests and defeat these demons,
mm-hmm.
Almost for your own salvation's sake. So there's a big sort of narrative campaign, which like I say, I'm going to be starting that.
Yeah.
I've been playing it for about a year, but it's always been one-shot missions with new players,
mm-hmm.
and I was determined that I was going to get a regular group together and play it, so that's really good. I play Zombicide a fair bit.
Is it the
original core
yeah.
game? Yeah. I played Black Plague a little bit, but
yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's the usual one, the ordinary one. I've also got Scythe. You played that?
No, I played.
So that's a tactical. That's a tactical kind of exploration and
yeah.
goods gathering and conquering sort of a game. That's really good fun.
I think somebody at Falkirk Club that I'm a member of has it. I'm pretty sure they played it, but I want to say I was playing Infinity and was too bloody interested in not getting myself killed to actually pay attention to it. But yeah, it's something I've heard of. There's loads of stuff that I've heard of and would love to play, and it's like that's one that's on the list.
So that's really good. And then I still play Space Hulk from time to time as well.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah.
Gotta love
and
the classics.
Carcassonne as well. That's quite a nice relaxing game.
Yeah. I've got that on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did have the app on my old phone, but I couldn't really take it anymore. I haven't put it on my new one yet.
Yeah. But I played my first actual game of it about a month ago, something like that. Maybe a wee bit longer than that. And I filmed it for my YouTube channel. And I beat badly in both games that we played it, but it was fun. That's the thing about it. That's my whole thing with a hobby, is if it's not fun, I'm not going to play it. That's why I stopped playing tournament players of Bolt Action and 40k and Warhammer. I'm like, I'm not having any fun. Go away. Leave me alone. I'll find other people to play with. But yeah, that's the thing. I'm starting to get into board games a lot more, because I'm going to steal, and I've done it before, steal a word from Will Wheaton from Tabletop as an infection vector, a way of getting people into the hobby. I think a lot of board games nowadays, certainly stuff like Code Words and Cards Against Humanity and the Flux games, they're really good for that, because they're really easy to learn, they're fun, and it gets people thinking and talking about games. So I got my girlfriend into it with Starflux, which she's actually beaten me out now in the number of games. I think we played about 60 games, and she's ahead of me right now, which she gives her great joy. But she got me Pandemic.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah,
it is good fun. She still hasn't played it yet. She's like, I bought it because I wanted to play it, but I've still not played it yet. She got me Marvel Munchkin. See the Munchkin, the Marvel version of Munchkin. I've still not played that yet.
They've just brought out the 40k version now as well, haven't they? Yeah.
And they announced at Gamma the other day that they're doing a Warhammer Age of Sigmar version of it as well. That's going to be interesting. But yeah, she's just like, you get all these games, we'll have fun doing it. So that's been great. And also, I did a Kickstarter last year. It was dogs, like dog miniatures of like bards and rogues and all these kind of things, because she loves dogs. I mean, I don't mind the dogs, but she really loves them. And
is that the townsfolk one?
No, it's the actual characters.
Oh right.
Where is it?
I'm thinking of a different Kickstarter. There's so many.
There's just so many at any given time that you can't keep up with. Animal Adventures, Tales of Dungeons and Doggies. So it's.
Oh yes, no, I have seen those. They look brilliant.
They look absolutely brilliant, and I'm sure once. I mean, the painted ones that they show you look amazing, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So she wants to play D&D using those and using the rules that they come with, and that's the thing. I've started a new RPG group recently, and pretty much every single one of them's got less than. Actually, if every one of them combined had 30 hours of experience, I'll be lucky. And I'm like, this is going to be fun, because I have not played with a brand new group since I first started playing it, like 14 RPGs. I started playing RPGs about 14, and I'm like, this is going to be interesting. But it's interesting because they're really enthusiastic about it, whereas everyone else I play with now is like, it's going to be fun, but they're not. Like every day I get new questions from them about stuff, and it's like, this is nice. It's nice to get that enthusiasm from new players.
You've also reminded me that what I did used to do as well was I used to run web forum based RPGs. Mm-hmm. So I used to be an admin on Stronghold Knights fan site, for the Stronghold computer games.
Yeah.
And one of the things that developed there was a role play kind of quest forum. So
cool.
you did a character sheet and an adventure was set up and you just ran with it. Yeah. And you had one person who was nominally, the quest giver. He was quite often me with a different account. But we'd hand the baton on to other people sometimes.
Yeah. And
that was incredible fun.
Yeah.
The site, unfortunately, we had to abandon. We had fairly old software, and we got so badly eaten alive by spam bots and porn bots and what have you. We ended up having to abandon ship completely.
Right.
But you can still access some of the pages on. There's like the Way Back When engine.
Yeah. Way Back engine.
Yeah, that thing, and you can still find the archive occasionally. There'll be some little nugget of gold from something we produced there.
Somebody will find it one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. This thing though, I found this group through Facebook, which I would never have thought to use until a couple of years ago. Because you wouldn't think to get all these new players into the hobby by using social media, but yeah, it's quite interesting.
Well, apparently Discord is working quite well as a platform for that now as well.
Yeah, there's lots of different platforms now for it, but you actually use the ones that are designed specifically for it, and you can't find anyone unless it's in America. That's what I found. The platform specifically to find gamers only work if you're in America, that's helpful. But yeah, how did you find painting all the minis? That's a question that I was wondering, because I found it by accident. I literally was looking for paint Facebook pages that weren't the ones
pretty much the same as you. Yeah. I wanted to find a few. I found a few groups, and I think that was probably the third or fourth one that I found, because there's ones that are about. There's a terrain building one, which I'm a member of. There's a miniature painting and terrain building one that I'm also a member of. And then also there's one specifically for painting Reaper minis and for Mythic Battles Pantheon and things like that. But Paint All the Minis it seemed to me to be quite a good one, because it was much more general. And it's got a really nice sort of supportive community atmosphere to it. You know? That's
the thing. I have been on a number of different ones, and you tend not to get the same atmosphere as you get in Paint All the Minis, because the minute anyone starts being, for lack of a better word, a complete prick, they're gone. It's like, well, if you can't be nice about it.
But I mean, what I find as well is that it's the right sort of size as well, because on some of the other ones, like particularly the big tabletop one, someone will ask a question, what do you recommend as a good primer? And there'll be 100 answers before you know it. Yeah. And there's only 100 answers because nobody's bothered to read what anybody else has said. Yeah. And lots of them are saying exactly the same thing. Yeah. And they present their answers as though what they've got to say is absolute gospel. Yeah. It's like, use Vallejo, use Vallejo primer, that's all I use. Don't listen to him, that sucks, use this. And it's like, there are many options.
There are tons of options.
Other primers are available, you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, I use, if I'm using the airbrush, I'll use the Vallejo primers because they're easier to do than anything else. But if it's a spray can, it'll be from anywhere and everywhere. Yeah. It's the cheapest one I can get my hand on.
I've found that, because I use black most of the time, when I use the white, that's more likely to clog the airbrush than the black is for some reason.
Yeah, I think it's because it's got more pigment in it, I think. A little bit. And also I think you need to have a higher pressure when you're using it as well. Yeah. As it's trial and error with me with that, because I did have an airbrush years ago and then broke it and blew up the compressor. Because how I did it, I could never tell you, but I did it. And then I didn't use an airbrush for years, and I got a cheap one with a really shitty compressor 2 years ago. Yeah, and that broke, surprisingly enough, because it was a cheap one. But I got another one, a heavier duty compressor, and that seems to be working fine. But I don't understand the point. And I mean, I know a lot of people will go, "Oh yeah, this airbrush is better than that one, and this one's better than that one."
Yeah, there seems to be these weird little cults and orthodoxies around, brushes and hair brushes and paint brands, and it's like, just use what works for you.
Yeah, I mean, I use it's about 6 different brands of paint, I think.
Oh
yeah. And I'm like, if it works, it works. The thing is, I like to have, see, especially if I'm doing hand highlighting rather than dry brushing or doing the layer, I like to have that subtle little pigment difference between that paint that's meant to be the same as that one. Yeah. It's that nice little progression rather than having a massive progression of different paint levels or paint colours. So, I use about 6 different ones regularly. I mean, I use Workshop, I use Army Painter, occasionally Tamiya stuff, especially is the clear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant for doing metallic.
I use the clear red, but I have to have all the windows open.
Because it's an alcohol-based one rather than a water-based one. That's what I figured out when using it. I was like, this isn't water-based. This is smelly. It's not quite as bad as enamel paints, because I use enamels for doing the model cars. See if I'm doing them, I normally use the what's the name yet? Alkel or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. They've got an apple, a candy apple and a candy red that I use, but it's enamel and it's stinking, and you have to clean the airbrush about 20 times after you've used it, because it's horrible stuff, but it's great for that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's kind of the last one I did. I actually used the colour changing paints from Green Stuff World. I used the one that's shifts from.
I haven't tried those out yet. They do look amazing.
They can be.
Yeah.
Some of them you can do with a brush, but some of them they have to go through the airbrush. But this one's the shifts between purple and green. And it's for my brother-in-law's birthday. His 30th birthday, which was last year.
Yeah, part of me would quite like to do a Gaslands team using those. Actually, I think they look pretty cool.
Yeah. I think for everyday painting, they're not so great, but see for like special projects and stuff, they're brilliant. I tried it. I got, and I didn't know it was a repro when I got it. It was a lemon rust. See for a Horus Heresy. I got it on ex-girlfriend, I think, got me. Or did they? I can't even remember who got me it, but I tried that on it, and it actually some of it looks good, but some of it it's not good for like the brush paint. It's entirely dependent on the paint and how good you shake it up and stuff. But
I mean, I can't. I'm trying to think, but with the nature of it, it doesn't seem to me that it would lend itself to painting several coats of it.
No,
you probably have to just have the single airbrush layer, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So what paints do you use? Like brands and what have you?
Well, majority of what I use is Games Workshop Citadel stuff. Some of which is from the old, the original range. I've still got some of those that are still perfectly liquid. But I think mostly, like, the reason I still use those is convenience, because I've got the shop up the road 10 minutes away. So if I need anything, I can always grab that. If they don't have it, then the shop 10 minutes down the road will. So that's fine. But I also use Vallejo pet brushes. Airbrush paints as well, which again, there's a couple of shops that do a good range of those. So I'm quite lucky really in terms of what's accessible. I mean, even to the extent where I've got a brewer's supply shop who sell the large corks that I can mount my miniatures onto. So I just bought a bag of 10 of those because I needed some more this morning, and they're like 3-minute walk away.
No, that's cool. You know, Coat Arms do the old Citadel range. I think they were the actual original producers. Was Coat Arms, and they do
and actually Big do those. I think they've got those. And the P3 paints are quite similar as well, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the War Machine, Horse, Mob, and I know people that use the P3 paints because they are big War Machine players, but they also use Citadel paints, and that's the thing. A lot of people I know that are painters and commission painters are like, well, I use all these different kinds of paints, so I'm not a brand specific person.
No, I mean, also, particularly if I'm doing like 40k stuff, it's and it may be that I'm doing somebody's army, in which case, as long as I'm consistent with myself, it's fine. But if I'm trying to do something that fits in with somebody's existing army, like last week I did a set of 28 orcs for somebody's Evil Sun's army, and of course I wanted to make sure that I was using the same paints that they were using, so that they sat right with them. So just little things like that.
So you're not a specific brush man either, are you?
Not particularly, but what I've gravitated towards are pro art brushes.
Right.
So I've got a local art shop that does the standard watercolour ones.
Yeah.
But then there's also one in town which does they do a specific miniature painting range, which are fatter handles, so they're ergonomically they're a bit more comfortable.
Have you seen
so they're very nice to use.
Yeah. So have you seen the army painter ones that are the kind of triangular?
So they've got a very similar grip to that.
I quite like them. It's just the comfort level. If you're sitting painting for what's the longest I've sat and painted for? About 8 hours solid. You know, if you
it's too easy to just zone out, isn't it? If nobody interrupts you just
no. Well, my girlfriend works like from 10 till 5:30, and if I'm in the house and the dog, unlike what he's been doing today, is he actually behaves himself.
I'm sure I heard the dog flapping his ears just earlier.
Yeah. If he was actually in the blinds as well, but if he behaves himself, I can sit for hours and hours and hours, and I'll forget to eat. I've done that often. It's like, but it's the same with terrain as well. I'll just sit and do it, and you get loads done, but you don't get as much done as you think you do. You always think, I've been sitting at this for hours, how did I not get more done? I just tend to find a paintbrush that it's got a good point on it, and that works for me. I'll use cheap ones, I'll use good ones. I find they're just as good as each other. I know a lot of people are like, well, if you take care of this brush or that brush, it'll last you forever. It's like, well, I've had the Konsky Sable ones which lasted about 2 weeks because I don't know, it wasn't really good Konsky Sable, or it wasn't done very well, or whatever it is, what the reason for it has been. That's why I don't spend stupid amount of money on paintbrushes. I don't get it. But yeah. So do you do a lot of commission painting? Do you use your own basing techniques, or do you use the Games Workshop techniques, or that kind of thing?
A little bit of a mixture. So a lot of the time, it tends to be that a lot of the people tend to want it done with, a grell and earth, so you've got that cracked earth effect. But I'll do my own thing as well. So particularly when it's been sort of character miniatures for D&D, I've sculpted like flagstones out of clay and things like that, and I'll do sort of rock outcrops made of cork tile and all that sort of thing. So I do a bit of a mixture, because I think base making the bases, it's like terrain building on a smaller scale, so it's the same sort of skill, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, because I can't remember who it was on Twitter the other day, was showing the tubs of one of the texture paints, and it just reminded me of the Lutz APS. The way he does his own grilling earth. Yeah. That saved me so much money. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I spotted that. Yeah, that he's effectively worked out a recipe for something that does the same thing. But then it's one of these other brands are available things. So things like crackle paints. Things like snow flock. It's like so I will use Valhalla Blizzard for snow. For if I know I'm just doing small batches of things, but you end up using a ton of it. So I've worked out I can pretty much emulate that through using snowflock mixed into clear acrylic medium with a little bit of PVA, and you get exactly the same effect. For larger terrain pieces.
Because see, in the Conquest deliveries, I got is it Armageddon? Astro Granite. I got that, and I was doing roads for tutorials on the YouTube
Oh, yeah,
channel.
they just use tons.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I already had the homemade stuff, which is basically the same thing, and I put it on, and I'm like, I actually like homemade stuff more than I like the Games Workshop stuff. I mean, there's bigger chunks of stone and stuff in the homemade stuff because it wasn't made specifically for doing roads, but
Yeah.
I think it actually looks better, to be honest. But
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
I used to. I mean, partly because again, I don't have a lot of space, so there's a limit to how much mess I can make here. I use the sort of Vallejo sandy paste as a kind of almost a default texture for most things, so walls and road surfaces and things. But I used to use like massive tubs of masonry paint because that's great.
basically the same thing.
That works very well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just on a bigger scale. That's the thing. Sometimes when I look at things, I'm like, it's kind of out of scale for the size, but fuck it, it works.
Another thing that's good for that is I think is it Plasticoat? I mean, there's a few brands who do it, but textured spray paints.
Yeah. I've seen some of them.
They can be excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. The only problem with textured spray paints and stuff like that is when you're using it on foam, and it just eats the foam.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you've got to see it out first, but yeah.
Properly. Because I made that. I've taken them apart. I was making buildings, and again, I'm shit at making buildings, but it's just one of those things. I was making it with like the foam that I used to make my rivers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I sprayed it by mistake, and it got big pits in it. I was like, oops. So
I mean, if you do it deliberately for an effect, that's one thing. But
it looks great, but when you do it by mistake, you're like, shit. But they get taken apart and made holes, you know. So,
I mean, some of the first terrain I ever made was literally slabs of ceiling tiles that I deliberately melted holes in with polystyrene cement.
Yeah.
Bullet holes, you know. And there wasn't anything much to. I don't even think I even painted it. I think that's all we did. and that was we effectively invented our own skirmish game using the Space Crusade rules.
Yeah.
But just on a battlefield.
That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, that's another blast from the past Space Crusade. I found the parts from Space Crusade. None of the figures, because I know where some of them are. Some of them are in my Space Wolf army. Because I used the dreadnoughts for the Chaos dreadnoughts. I used them for what do you call them? What's the heresy ones?
Oh yeah.
Contemptors. I've got a Contemptor.
Yeah.
But I still use them as Contemptors because they don't look like Bjorn.
Oh,
I've got Bjorn. I'm like, they don't look like him. They don't quite look like that one, but they work. And I don't play competitions, and I don't play with people that are like, they have to be what you say they are, so they work. People are fine with that. So
I mean, I suppose that's the thing with Space Crusade is there's too many of the parts that are too easy to cannibalise for other things, like those tarantula tripod
Mission
guns.
Dreadnought.
Absolutely perfect for gun emplacements.
Yeah. But they're also good for tarantulas as well for 30k.
Yeah, true.
I've used them in games with a 30k. Well, yeah, that's everything I actually got to say and ask today. Thanks very much for coming on, man. Much appreciated. Any plugs that you've got for yourself? On you go.
Okay, well, yeah, sure. So if you're interested in what I'm doing, then I've got my Facebook page, Pandemonium Miniatures.
Yep.
And I've got my Instagram, which is also Pandemonium Miniatures with an underscore in between the two words. And then my Twitter is also the same username as my Instagram. I've got an Etsy shop, which is Pandemonium Minis, because it wouldn't let me, didn't have the character space for the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's got a variety of things. It's kind of a duplication of my commissioning services, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also if I've made something specifically to sell,
Cool.
then I'll list it on there as well. So I've got a winter medieval house up
Cool.
on sale at the moment, and that's it. I have got a YouTube channel, although I haven't done anything with it yet.
Yeah, you said
I'm
that.
deciding whether that's going to be a platform for perhaps some terrain tuition
Mm-hmm.
type things, or possibly just kind of gameplay videos of Darklight.
Yeah.
But it's something I'm thinking about, because I kind of need to have some decent equipment if I'm going to make something like that, I think.
Well, I just started the YouTube channel 3 or 4 months ago, and I've actually just used my phone to video
very good.
everything. Like,
Well, I might do a couple of test goes with my
Yeah.
phone and see what I think, but I don't know.
yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's the same as the podcast. It's fun, and then I get to talk to people and get to do things, and yeah, it's really good fun.
Cool.
So again, thanks very much for coming on.
Not a problem. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. There you go, folks. That was Paul Cooke from Pandemonium Miniatures. It was really good to talk to him. I know it wasn't quite as long as Dan, but to be honest, I'd ran out of questions and I couldn't think of any at the moment because I've been recording all day and my brain's a bit fried. But yeah, again, thanks to Paul for coming on. Really appreciate it, and hope to have him on in the future. So a little bit admin wise, right now we are on, I can't remember what week this is now. I think the Lieutenant Kelsey's raffle is finished. I can't remember what the current one is afterwards, but if you want to help the channel out, it's £3 for a raffle ticket. Go to my coffee account and you can buy it there, buy a raffle ticket there. If you want to support the channel a little bit more, I can do commission pieces of terrain and what have you, just like Paul does, or I can commission armies for you, figures for you, whatever. As I said, don't do Tau, don't ask me to do Tau. Yeah, so hopefully in the near future we're going to have some more actual play podcasts, as I was talking to Paul about, and I've talked to Dan about new group. I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast. As me and Dan have talked about, it's not about the numbers, it's about people enjoying it. YouTube channel, I'm trying to get back to the schedule. It's just the last week or so has been a little bit hectic. But yeah, all the details are on the podcast website. And hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to say good day, happy hobby.